Stand down, Commander. Leave them to me. The nerds are mine.
Can you see me? Can you see my hat?
I can't
Hang on, let me put my
make out what it is. I can see the
thingy
bottom
up.
of the thing.
It's a ram of some sort.
the Rams, the Los Angeles Rams.
Oh, you know what?
Now don't pull your cheese head. Oh wait, no, he's not a cheese head. He's a Chiefs head. Yeah, boy.
Wait, hold on. I don't have
There you go.
sports hat.
It could be these two teams in the end.
Yeah.
It could be, which would be great.
St. Louis Guns.
The St. Louis prop guns.
I'm the St. Louis Myrtle capital of the Midwest.
So I got some Rams stuff recently because I've been following the team quite a bit, and then they picked up Von Miller, and so that's all very exciting. Yeah, but then the biggest reason was because the Broncos GM is from Minnesota, and in the year of him being the GM, he's basically just picked up Minnesota players for like Teddy Bridgewater and all these just everybody who's coming from Minnesota. And so Minnesota's head coach was fired or let go or quit or whatever. And so I'm preparing myself, and I've made this, and I'm saying it to the world right now, that if they hire them, the Minnesota head coach, I'm switching to the Rams. It doesn't even matter. Like, I'm going. I don't care. It's what's happening next. Because the Vikings are such an unbelievably mediocre team, and I don't understand why you would just keep drawing more mediocre talent into your organization. If they're smart and they end up getting Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams and doing that way, cool. I'm still in. I'll still be Rams-ish, but I swear to you, I am jumping ship completely.
Well, you could have teams in the AFC and the NFC.
Correct. Yeah, that's why it's easy to be a Rams fan because of that. Yeah,
you can
exactly.
split divisions like that.
That was my justification with the Bruins and the Avalanche.
Yeah, for sure. It's good justification. But congrats to your Chiefs for winning because of terrible rules.
No. We can have that debate another day.
Yeah.
But I understand the OT argument. I understand it. And yes, it did benefit me this week. But I've been on the other end of that. And I don't have an answer or a better solution, but I think the one they have is fair, especially when you figure out that these guys make like $1 million a game.
But
there are no participation trophies in the NFL either. And I put this on Facebook. My argument still stands, in my opinion, that saying that it's not fair that a coin toss determines the game. There are two to three components to a football team. It's not just the offense. That defense has to do their job too.
But here's the thing.
But they're burned out by that usually.
Yeah,
right?
for
the
sure.
offense should be too.
It makes it easier to get a touchdown in OT
Absolutely.
than it would be first quarter or down a third quarter.
Every other major,
I don't care.
except for soccer, baseball, hockey, and basketball. Well, we'll talk about hockey and basketball. They're determined by every contested moment, every period. Everything is a jump ball or a drop puck. So you have an opportunity to get it. And baseball, the offense or the home team always gets the final chance. So every other sport has that opportunity, and I don't understand why football, especially because we're not watching football for an expedient ending. We want to watch the best, longest game possible.
Should it be home field advantage gets the first thing? And then you've earned it throughout the season?
That's fine.
I don't know.
Yeah, but in overtime, especially in the playoffs, it should not be determined by if a touchdown is scored, the other team should have the opportunity. And if they don't score the touchdown, then the other team wins. Absolutely. I love that idea. Or if it's field goal, touchdown, the touchdown wins. So first touchdown wins as long as both teams have had a chance to touch the ball.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's good.
I don't remember
It's
if that's how it was. I don't even remember how it used to be. Honestly, it's been
I'd
so
have to
long.
look it up
Yeah.
to be honest. I think it's. Like I said, I understand the argument, but it's like I don't have a better solution. I also don't know what it would look like because you also have to factor in risk of injury, right?
Nah,
Of these
no.
guys. Right?
No, throw in the.
Ultimately,
because the more tired they get, the more probably prone.
yeah, I mean, you're gonna
something could
have
happen.
linemen
Yeah.
going down like crazy. If the argument is that they're tired, you're gonna have guys going down like crazy.
Well, the argument isn't
do-
that they're tired. The argument is that it's not fair.
But I don't understand the fairness argument because it's not the only important part of an NFL team is not the offense.
But you're
Like the
not giving the defense. You're not giving the other offense a fair shake at the opportunity to score against the other team's defense. So you're
Well,
right.
I
There's
mean, you
multiple
could- you
components,
could then
but
you could make the argument that you're not giving that team's defense a chance to get a safety on
okay.
the other.
So if this was baseball, we'll get to Boba Fett. But if this was baseball and it's
But
the 10th inning,
It's two different sports, though. Like, it's
no.
two
But what I'm
diametrically
saying is
different
that
sports.
no, not really. Not if you put it like this. If the ninth inning rolls, or say the ninth inning they're tied, 10th inning, and the new rule is in the 10th inning, if the first team to hit a home run wins the game.
A home run or
A home run. No, a home run. We'll call
Oh,
it
a
a home
ding
run.
Okay.
Because a home run's different than knocking in a run, just like a touchdown is different than a field goal. So if the team hits, a triple and then drives the guy in, they've got one, run, and then the next team hits a home run, they automatically win, even though it's still a tie game. That doesn't make any sense. It's just like it's the same thing. See, I love it when I do. It's like we've known each other for like 25 years, and it's very rare when I say something and you don't immediately say no. And sometimes you go like that. You go, And it's a win. It's a win. That's it, everybody. Good night.
I like the home
I
run
call
rule.
that a coin
Yeah.
toss.
Yeah, I think the home run rule is actually really interesting. That
Yeah.
if you do make that delineation, because I had always heard it of like the first team to score a run wins. Like that was when I'm like, no, because baseball is two different things, right? With baseball, there's two people controlling the outcome of that essentially coin toss every time, the pitcher and the batter. So like that is a 1-to-1 relationship that could determine a game, and I think that's bunk because then you've got like a shortstop or the left fielder who's just like already kind of standing around.
Right.
But in football, all 22 people are engaged.
Right.
In the outcome. So that's why I would make the argument that it is not the same type of sport, therefore the rules are different. But I do find the home run rule interesting.
Yeah, you
No,
do.
I do. I like that. They're never going to do it.
No.
Because pitchers would just never pitch.
No,
home
that's
run
what I'm saying,
balls.
though. That's not-
They'd be brushing off batters all day long.
That's not even an option. That would be crazy. You think that's nuts, and I feel the same way about this overtime rule.
But
That it's just nuts.
I don't think that a touchdown in football is equivalent to a home run in baseball, though. Just because of the amount of moving parts required to get a touchdown.
But you remember the one play, Broncos versus Steelers, the Tim Tebow year, and he threw that pass to Demaryius Thomas. The first play of overtime in the AFC Championship, or no, it wasn't the AFC Championship, but it was maybe the first round of the playoffs.
Okay.
And DT catches the ball and runs it for a touchdown. First play of overtime, and that's it. The game's decided. It's very exciting, but there's just when it's the first play like that, and it was kind of a fluke moment.
Sure.
The other team not getting the ball to have an answer, I just don't think it makes sense at this level of the game.
So fair enough. So let's just say that this is the rule change, right? So what happens when it's the end of that 10-minute period or that 15-minute quarter and it's 7-7?
Well, I think then you go like hockey into some sort of sudden death, like a shootout type thing. So then
But how do you determine like?
I feel like the first touchdown
How do you
played
determine
is a
possession?
great. Oh, that's a good point.
I've heard someone have thought along those lines of red zone, like red zone.
Oh,
Oh,
interesting.
just put them there. Just put them.
some shit.
Put them
them
at
at
like
the
the
25
15
yard
or
line,
something.
Or
Yeah.
15 or some shit, or
Yeah.
at 20.
Oh, that'd be kinda
and
cool.
it's like,
That
would-
right. Take out all that nonsense, right? Of like
you know,
either stop them and they kick a field goal, or they score a touchdown. No, that would be. I would
Or
be amenable to that.
You could
solution. I
put
think
the
that's good.
kickers actually make them do something and start them
back
at
them,
like
just
the
keep backing
30.
them up.
and then the 35, and then the 40. Yeah,
Oh,
and the
that would
first
be
one to
awful.
miss.
Don't
No, and then if
kickers
the
already have to like
no, the one that
do
loses
so much
then
in relation to everyone else.
break his kneecap, and then that's how you do that.
My favorite, I think that's an
burn through
interesting
all
way
the
to tackle it
kickers
too,
that
but I think that's way too much pressure on the kicker. It also makes me laugh because if the kickers had done their job during the game, we wouldn't have even gone to overtime.
Usually that's the
Prater
case.
Prater missed a field goal and 2-point after, so
Mhm.
or Butker, so we wouldn't have even overtime wouldn't even been a thing.
Now, here's a question.
Yeah.
I brought this up to people
Boba
like, I
Fett.
don't know, a year or two ago. Yeah, I
Boba
know.
Fett.
Yeah, real quick.
No, this is fun.
Are kickers? Is there a worse pool of kickers right now? And if there is it because soccer has become more popular?
That's an interesting idea.
I think they didn't they
Might have that
physically limit. I thought they physically limited the goalposts and also the hash marks. Like I think it's tighter.
No, it's just
Which is-
further.
They moved the extra point, right?
Well, the
Like
extra
5
point's
yards.
been moved backwards, yeah. So the extra point is now from the 30 instead of the 20 or whatever it was.
So there's no
So-
longer a give me in the same way.
Yeah.
Okay. I knew they had made some sort of measurement change. I got it wrong.
No, it's the distance for extra
The
points.
distance. Okay.
That's why extra points are harder to make. But I think that, I mean, in the case of the Green Bay game in particular, and in the KC game, I mean, it was cold as balls out there. And these guys were kicking basically like frozen footballs. Yeah.
Turkeys.
Yeah, for sure. And
No,
But here's the thing I will say, though.
yeah.
And I have tremendous respect for every team, even though I'm a Broncos fan. I always have. Like, I'm not a Brady hater, not a Mahomes hater. Like, I love watching football. It's like my favorite sport, hands down. But watching that play where Hill catches the ball and then just turns on these jets that are just ungodly, it's crazy to watch a game when you don't have any skin in the game and just watch this team just murder these plays. It was just unreal, man. It was such a crazy game. I mean, both teams did amazing. The Bills did great. But that play in particular was just like, this dude is insane. His Jets are...
I saw a video where somebody overlaid. They timed him on a breakaway catch because it's like he caught it on the 20 and ran it into the end zone.
Yeah,
They
it was
timed
him versus Seabiscuit.
No.
No.
They overlaid his time
say,
next
that's
to
Crotch
the
Rocket.
to the Olympic 200 meter
Oh, yeah.
sprint, and he would have gotten like a silver medal.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy, man.
Like it's the fact that it annoys me from what he does sometimes, but the fact that every time he catches the ball, he doesn't just take. He always stops,
Mhm.
knowing he's just in his head. He's like, "I'm faster than you. Let me find a different route." He does it, and it's
insane.
annoying as hell, but he does it every single
Yeah.
time.
No,
He
'cause he
always
can.
catches the ball and stops, and right because he can. It's like a video game with him.
Yeah.
But all credit to the Bills. Their number one receiver on Sunday broke our defense 5 times.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of like in the LA game. Cup should not have been that open that
Right.
many times
Right.
in the fourth quarter. It's
No, the
like,
Bills were making magical plays
oh, it's
all
crazy.
game. So that's the thing. It was over the sensational aspect of the Chiefs just kind of overshadowed the fact that because the Bills kept on scoring these big plays in like fourth down,
Right.
third and fourth
Exactly.
down. So
Extended.
it was nail biter on their side, and then on the Chiefs side they were just like, and running. It was crazy.
Yeah, it was probably the best game of the season.
Yeah, hands down.
Playoff wise.
Hands
Yeah.
down. I'm excited about this
It's-
weekend. It's gonna be fun.
Oh man, I'm scared. Like it, because I think Cincinnati has the tools to do what the Bills did, except I don't think Burrows is a runner. So
Right.
I think where we got exposed on Sunday is because we always had somebody having to watch Josh Allen.
Yeah.
And I don't think we're gonna have that with Burrows or necessarily like every play. So I think we're gonna have that coverage in the and they beat him in the regular season like 2 weeks ago
Yeah.
or week
Yeah.
16.
Yeah.
So they've got that footage to be like, how did they do it? Let's make sure this doesn't happen again.
Exactly.
It's gonna be crazy good. I think that LA San Francisco game is gonna be really good too.
Yeah, I can't wait, man. It's gonna
it
be
is
fun.
funny to me
Shoot
that
the guy. Like Last Boy Scout.
Right.
oh, what a great movie.
Or
On that note,
you can hire a speeder gang and have the speeder gang take them
Yeah, you
out.
can. You could.
So I want to
A
know,
Voltron colored.
based upon our texts, Eric, specifically, how did you feel about the vintage refrigerator speeder bike gang? What do you think of that nonsense from
Oh, they
chapter
were
3?
something. They
End
were
of sentence.
So stupid. It was so stupid. Like the cyberpunk kids, the guy with the eye.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
weird. I was like, they ran it through like the wrong universe filter.
Yeah.
It was like, oh no, oops, no, this is Star Wars. Like, you're almost there. That's like it was like early designs that just kind of they ran out of time.
It was
Again,
the
kinda
Warriors.
felt like they were like, oh, we didn't do later iterations to get us somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest thing I think being, what's the tone of this whole thing supposed to be? Am I supposed to smoke up and laugh? Am I supposed to take it seriously? I don't know. It's everywhere.
It's all over the place.
All over the place.
It's just
and then mix in that with slow bantha writing. I'm like, why is he riding a bantha to Jabba's palace? That's, I don't know. I don't have a map. Do we have, what's her name?
Weeks.
Where's Amy Sudeikis? What's her name?
let me whip
Sedaris.
one up for you. This is Jabba's palace before the war.
For the war. And guess what? It's a gazillion miles away from everything else.
Here, take my
Because we're in a
bantha.
massive desert planet.
I should.
But go
I
ahead
should
and
Still.
take a
really,
bantha.
I should really not watch the episode before this. Oh boy!
It's
I
just
can't wait
such-
for 2 weeks.
It's not that the show is.
It's uneven.
But yeah, it's so uneven. I think that chapter 3, it just smelled so heavily of 19, like it's like an episode of a show that Robert Rodriguez would make in the 80s, which I get that's kind of, I know that's the vibe of the motorcycle gang because they had that look of like cybernetic organisms from the 80s. So I get it. But it just isn't working. The tone is just so far off on this episode for me. I completely agree with you on that one.
But that
There's some
chase,
holes,
boy,
for
that was
sure.
spectacular.
The
Well, I
slow
love
speed
the-
chase through the hallways of the volume. You didn't like that?
I love the. So we're talking about chapter 3, right? So
3.
The concept of was it Rip Torn?
No, it's
No,
Milton
that's not
from
his name.
Office Space.
Yeah, I'm trying to think about his
Who's
name.
a brilliant actor, by the way, but
Oh
Yeah.
god, that'd be great. if it was-
So, yeah, he
or-
comes
I'm
in and
thinking
he's
of
like-
Rick Taylor. Like,
Yeah.
"Hey,
He's like, these guys are ripping
buy
me
my
off.
water.
You're unrespected. Yada yada. Is like, okay. So then he goes to confront them, and they give him the reality of like, since it's been out of control, there's just been people have been like price gouging like crazy, and it's gotten out of control. And my favorite part was that we should look up his name. He like comes out of the corner like, no, that's not what's supposed to happen. I was like, shoot him. Shoot him.
Just shoot him.
Just shoot him. We're done here. And then, I mean, I do love I liked the concept of him hiring like the street punks, just as like this little runaway gang. But I also love that you can tell that they use practical effects for those bikes, because the way that they hit those corners, you could tell that it was like tires on loose sand, because there was some weird fishtailing. That's like, if these are flying, they wouldn't. I'm not mad at it, because I did watch the episode twice. It is better on second viewing, but it's just it's
How
one of those
drunk
like
were you?
not totally stoned sober.
What were you on? Okay, you were
Yeah.
stoned.
But
Yes,
it is-
was not enough.
So stoned.
Yeah, but like conceptually, it's interesting because he is that the same one where he, episode 3 is when he gets the Rancor, right?
This episode 3, chapter 3.
Yeah, oh, right, because he.
Yeah.
So the first act of
Yeah,
chapter
also,
3
yeah, Danny
is
Trejo
hiring
also.
the gang, right? And then the second act would be the Rancor with Machete, and then the third part is the attack by the Wookiee Krasatan.
Oh, right.
Kursatan.
Yeah.
Satan.
We'll just call him the Wookiee.
The Wookiee, which is super interesting, because like you meet him, if you remove the Star Wars nature of this, and you think about like like Goodfellas or something. Like essentially what
Right.
happened was some guy comes back from the war in 1950 Chicago, right? And the boss, he kills the boss, so he takes over. And then he's got a bunch of like gutter snipe kids who he hires on as cheap labor. And then there's another, like the New York City boss is like, hey, by the way, this is really my territory. So he sends like an assassin to get him. It's foiled. And then the New York City boss comes by. It's like, hey, it's just business. So, here's some liquor. Thanks for not killing my guy. You know what? You keep him. That's your guy now. So it was like a very like Godfather-esque, Goodfellas, gangster type
Mhm.
feel to it,
Mhm.
which I thought was interesting. If you remove like the dressiness of it and just like cut it down to what it's supposed to be, it's repeated, but it's really interesting. I enjoyed it better the second time. The first time it was just kind of like,
Mhm.
what is all of this? And then the speeder bikes being like, because nothing else really in the universe is neon, for lack of a better term,
Right.
right? Everything
Yeah, not
everything
on
in there
that
is
planet.
muted.
Coruscant,
On that planet,
sure.
yeah,
but
everything is really
nothing.
muted. But then to have these like neon green and all that stuff, and then the classic like, oh, whoops, a doozy, the guy goes on the sidewalk and then hits a table and does a front flip, and you're like, all right, so there
Mhm.
was a checklist of shots that they wanted,
Mhm.
which I'll get to in chapter 4. So if you take away that kind of stuff, I enjoyed it. And this would have been technically
If you
episode
take
3,
away
but it
all
is
the
technically
shitty
episode
stuff,
3.
it was great.
Yeah.
No, but as far as like my
That's
rule of
solid
the
news.
3-episode try, when this episode happened, this one kind of cemented as like, okay, I'm in now, because it looks like we've got so he's starting to flex a little bit more as the leader, the gang boss. He's hiring thugs, he's all that stuff.
Right. At least he's
popular
hiring
now.
somebody,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
because you're just like, it's him and his and Fennec, and that's it.
And then
And
that's
you're
not
like,
going to work. Yeah, that's not
Mhm.
going to work. So he's starting to flex, get some territory. I love the Rancor and Danny Trejo. I think that's fantastic. That whole scene feels super weird, like they almost like they weren't in the same room when they shot it. If
They
you watch it
maybe
again, because
weren't.
like
Yeah.
their eye lines are super weird and different, and it's almost like they said it's almost like they had Danny Trejo for like an hour, and they just said, okay, here's your lines, just read them off. It was kind of like the guy in Samurai Cop who's just making like 30 minutes of facial expressions.
Yeah.
Same thing, just react. Okay, now this is a happy reaction. Okay, now this one's an exaggerated reaction. It felt like Trejo did that kind of stuff, but not mad at it. Thought it was super fun.
I was
And
mad
then-
at it. It was fucking stupid. Sorry, I shouldn't have said. I apologize. I did not mean to say the F word. It's just like there's just so much out there to use to enrich this universe, and the guy who owns a donut shop is not the guy to throw in these things. God bless him. I love him, and Machete's great, and all those sorts of things. But it just takes you out of the universe when it's Milton and then it's Danny Trejo, and it's just like there's just so much of that happening in the
That's- no,
show.
you're not
You
wrong
know,
there.
because like
Yeah.
at least when Michael
The
Biehn
big-
showed up in Mandalorian, you weren't mad at it because you didn't even know it was him because he looked so old and he just
Right,
looked
it had
different.
Been a hot minute.
Yeah,
Right.
and everyone was excited about Ahsoka Tano, and it had already been probably 2 years or something like that of talking about her playing that character. So everyone was like in it. But then when he shows up and when other way too famous people pop up in this universe, it just takes me right out of it, and not in a fun way. You know, I don't like it.
No, agree, because it's
Well, too, it's like,
you don't see Rancor Trainer, you see Machete. You
But
see
too,
Danny
it's like-
Trejo.
Exactly.
oh,
Exactly.
okay, so he's going to be gifted a big creature to go back in the menagerie, back in the pit. What could it be? Could we use our creativity? No, it's a Rancor, and it's like,
Right.
okay.
And secretly,
And then when he's like, I want to learn how to ride it, it's like, that ain't going to look cool, man. You know what I never did with my toys? I don't think I ever had someone riding the Rancor, because even as like a 7-year-old, I went,
How is
I
that
don't think this will
possible?
play well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it walks on 2 legs.
Like Game of Thrones took a hot minute to get people on dragons looking okay, where you go,
Yeah.
okay, that can be
Mhm.
cool, it's fine. I don't know how on earth they're gonna make.
What
if
do you
Boba Fett's on a Rancor?
What if they do like a Rancor Bjorn and he's just like hanging off the
Right.
front like
Oh, I need to remember
Off the
that
front.
because I want to Photoshop that.
Rancor
Yes.
Bjorn.
yeah, do a Rancor Bjorn. That'd be amazing.
Holy crap, that makes more sense.
Well, because that way you can shoot.
And he's just flop
Yeah.
back and forth. I am Boba Fett. And he's got like a loudspeaker. I am Boba Fett. Respect me.
Do a Rancor
And
Bjorn. I wanna
Fennec's just
see
like
it.
walking, and the Wookiee are both walking beside him, like,
With his
Oh,
legs
boy.
dangling. Just
Just little kicky legs.
but he's gotta be in his back to tank outfit. Just the blue underwear. While he's sitting in it.
but then his jetpack on still. And makes
Right.
no sense because he can't use it at the moment.
Yeah.
I was really hoping that there would be a tie-in. I guess there's still hope. Well, no, there isn't because this. So part one of why the Rancor annoyed me was exactly what you said. It was just like, let's waste the creativity and let's just do the Death Star part two. Second thing that annoyed me, of course, was Dan Trejo. Third thing being that this Rancor comes in with the eye covered, so he's never technically seen a person. So it's like, so he's just been blind his whole life. And then
Yeah.
number
Right, 'cause it's
4.
not like he's a week old.
Yeah, exactly. I thought at the
Well, they said
very
it was a
least
calf, so
it was
a
going to
young one.
be Moochie from the Bad Batch. You know Moochie, the Rancor that they went to save.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So at
yeah.
least I was hoping that they were going to do some kind of tie-in and make it
Make it Moochie, man.
make it Moochie. Just make a Moochie.
Yeah, just come on, it's easy. Just make it
Yeah.
Moochie, bro.
Hey, just make it a Moochie. But they couldn't because, of course, you can't do the whole imprint situation or whatever.
'Cause, yeah,
Yeah.
would have imprinted on.
I feel like there's a lot of ideas that this team is getting set on making as plot points that they're retconning / holding so firm to this idea that there's just no flexibility of character or tie-ins or
Yeah.
anything like that. It's weird.
It feels a little more back to like the sequel trilogy, that like the feeling I got with episode 7, where I was
Yeah.
like, oh, this is a board meeting with executives saying, you know what people like? Chewbacca. People need X-Wing. People need
Yeah.
Millennium Falcon. And like this show, it's like people want Boba Fett. People need Jabba Palace. People need Gamorrean Guard. People need Rancor. And it's the same thing. It's just check, 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 and figure out how you get it in there, guys. I'm sure you can do it. And go. Everyone loves The Mandalorian. Well, do they like it because it's a little fresher? No.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and then there's this whole thing of reiterating. Once we get to chapter 4, we got a real big problem there. But in chapter 3, you've got the robot explaining how everything was divided up.
yeah.
And so now you've got these.
Which is like, how did it wait till now?
Yeah, yeah.
Just like, wasn't this like first 10 minutes of after you killed what's his butt, Bib Fortuna? Aren't you like,
Yep.
okay, so what's happening?
Yeah, let's
Give
figure
me
this
a
out.
droid. I need intel immediately.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that I don't know how many times in these first 4 episodes they've rehashed all these things that we already know and keeps talking about Bib Fortuna and Master Fortuna and this is what happened after the sail barge blew up and da-da-da-da. It's like, God, you guys, we get it. It's after Return of the Jedi. Let's talk about something new, you know? It's weird.
Well, and so episode 3 is still deep in flashback world.
Uh-huh.
So we're still
Yeah.
like having to play the catch up to now and going, okay. What was the flashback stuff in 3?
Traveling into town to meet with the
Taking a slow
the Pikes.
Bantha ride
Yeah.
Right.
everywhere.
To meet with the Pike
Oh,
leadership.
it's the Pikes, right? And
Mhm.
the Pikes are like, "Hey, man, we're already like, these dudes are paying us or whatever." So,
Yeah.
or no, we're already paying these other schmoes. We're not
Right.
gonna
Yeah.
pay
We've
two
already
people.
tried. Yeah, because
So you
he
figure
walks
it out,
in
bro.
Mhm.
thinking that he's talking about the Tuscans as multiple peoples. He says, "We've already made a payment to your people." He's like, no, we are one people. And he's like, "No, I meant these guys, the writers." And he's like, "You won't
The
hear from them
motorcycle
again." Okay.
The Sons of Malarkey. We get money from.
Nice. The two sons of Malarkey. But it was and the one thing that I didn't like too is because we talked about this in I think it was chapter 2 when they had the train assault and like there's just raiders dropping left and right.
Mm-hmm.
And then when
All
he
of a
goes
sudden,
back,
there's 1,000 raiders in this little tiny clan.
yeah.
Yeah.
So then he comes back from meeting with the Pikes. He sees the smoke in the distance. And he rides slowly. He waddles on a bantha to a sand dude, and then apparently is like, "This is stupid," and gets off and runs like 200 yards to the site that has been ravaged. Yeah, and then he when he makes the pile of bodies to burn, it's like 4 people.
Yeah, right.
It was the smallest body pile. Like,
Yeah.
You guys need to work on your number. Like,
It's so
somebody
funny,
needed to
though.
step in and be like, get this.
Yeah.
There needs to be like a mound of this, and then because he throws in, he doesn't throw his stick, but he throws in the stick of the guy who trained him, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and then he throws in the leader's stick,
Mm-hmm.
and then he does the super sad, pulls out the little kid stick, and it's like, okay, so that's 3. So who was the one other guy in that pile that died? Because I remember because when he walked in, they show at least like 10 raiders laying around. It's like, did you have a couple of fire? It just logistically, it's like, what do you? Somebody
it's
screwed
true.
this up.
It's I think it's a classic thing of, you know, how like Marvel will they're like, here's our ending and this is how big and bombastic it is, and directors, your job to come in and fill in the gaps and get us to that moment. And I feel like the show has a lot of that, where it's like, okay, we've done all this art, we have these action things planned out, now I don't know, how do you get here, figure it out. And so I think that, I don't know if that's part of the unyielding factor, that's like they're stuck in having to deliver these things. Again, a checklist. I don't know if it's just too much of a checklist. I don't know what it is.
A little bit.
Well, it's a lack of originality to a certain extent. That's starting to get a little frustrating, because when there is originality, it's the speeder bike gang riding refrigerators, and it's what is happening here.
Well, I see them more as like irons. When
They were,
flying
yeah,
around,
they
I
did.
see them as colorful irons.
Irons with big chopper handles. That's kind of
With
what
the
they look
chopper
like.
handles, and here's okay. So going back to my like my Batmobile whole like thesis thing of like, if the design is clean and like stripped down and it's an idea, like a unified idea, then it'll be good. This thing, it was just like, they're like, oh, we need these Star Wars versions of choppers. Put like 6 side mirrors on it.
Right. Oh, come
Like,
on.
that's not an idea. That's just putting more crap on a thing. That doesn't make it better.
Was that Doug Chang letting the intern design something? They're like, all right, like the really annoying intern just kept on saying, just let me do something. They're like, all right, fine, you can do a speeder
feel like
bike.
the Boba Fett show is getting those people where they're like, we're busy, we're developing the Ahsoka show, which has to be awesome, and we're up into everything on Mandalorian, and we are full guns rocking. We've got a bazillion projects happening. We're all going crazy. Like, there's too much happening, I think, over there. And so all the people that kind of can keep a thing in a good place, like Filoni's in like 5 different directions, I think.
Yeah.
Probably Favreau is too. And so I think the Book of Boba Fett, they're like, oh, whatever. Book of Boba Fett.
Well, I think it just
run wild. We don't care.
Yeah.
It just connected in my brain. I think I found what the problem for me is that they were bitching and moaning about the cost of water, yet they had all that money for all their for all the modifications, and those bikes aren't cheap. So it's like, wait, which is it? Are you guys?
They're so
poor?
clean.
Right.
Or are you guys poor, or did you just blow all your money on this garbage and it's kind of your fault? Like,
are they all
I think-
rich kid? Like they, Reed's
Yeah.
like, okay, who are their parents?
yeah, that literally just connected in my brain of like, wait a minute,
Right.
who are you guys? Like, you trust fund babies.
Absolutely.
Connecting the dots
It
on any of this.
Drove me crazy when he goes up to them and they're all standing outside the club or whatever's going on. So it's like, like this party music going on, but they're not smoking, they're not drinking, they're not doing anything. They're just standing there tapping on their, 7th rear view mirror. And then Milton comes out and he's like, and then he's gone. and then cold open over. You're like, what is happening? I don't understand
And
why
like
is this
him
so
giving
garbage.
an ominous look, like, oh, okay, well, this is gonna be trouble.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna burn maybe he'll burn down Jabba's palace. That'll be a nice Milton tie-in.
Be like, don't you wish you had some water? And then credits. Yeah.
Nice.
It's
Yeah.
been rough.
No,
And
that-
here's the thing, you guys, we love Star Wars. We love our Fillones and we
But
love
you know
our
what
Favreaus.
Else we love.
We just love
as
poking
Star
holes.
Wars
What
fans
do
is
we
to
love?
Complain about Star Wars.
Exactly.
I think by now, like if people, everyone around the globe who's complained about since Phantom Menace on, at
Mhm.
some point we have to realize it's like Donald Trump. We need it so we can complain about
Just
it.
got to talk about it. It makes us feel better.
We have
Yeah.
to like nom 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 nom.
Yeah, just
Well,
gobble it up.
And some of this stuff too, though, it would
And when
just
it is
take
good, it's
one
great, but-
Yeah,
person in
exactly.
the room being like, "Hey, so that really doesn't." So transitioning now into the second act of the assault. So you have he's in the back to tank, and he's having this flashback about the Raiders getting murdered or whatever, and then he gets the Wookiee attack, right?
Hmm.
Uh-huh.
How many times does he die in that fight? Like,
Yeah, all of them.
he gets punched. There's so many weird things that happen, right? So he gets pulled out of the tank, he gets thrown across the room. He's trying to grab his armor, and you see him grab it, and then he gets thrown and it's gone.
Hmm.
And then he gets this electrified 3-inch spike to the face. No marks.
Hmm.
The Wookiee picks him up and crushes his spine, and then a second
Right.
later he's walking.
Thanks to the Lollipop Kids
Right. and
who
it's just-
came to his
it's
rescue.
all this stuff that you're just like, okay, you need to introduce this Wookiee as just a walking badass. That's
Mhm.
fine. I get it. But he takes like 2 or 3 death blows, right? He
Oh, yeah.
gets
Yeah.
he gets the gaffy stick to the gut, he gets it to the back, he gets a vibro blade to the side, he gets electrocuted at least 3 times.
And we've all been there.
I know.
right.
Gaffy
It's
sticks
just
hurt.
like all this stuff that's
The
like you
vibro
guys,
blade to the back.
it's like this cartoon fighting scenario.
Yeah.
The whole time.
There's just
Yeah.
so
It's like,
much
what
picking
the
up and
hell?
throwing. If he's really an assassin,
Yeah, just
squish his head, call it a day. Yeah.
yeah, crush.
He wouldn't. You just kill him while he's asleep in the back.
Right. Right.
Yeah, just pull the oxygen.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Lock
Um,
the tank and pull the oxygen. Walk away.
You would have made a much better Wookiee than this Wookiee. Tell you that.
I don't know. I write boring stories because all my things are logistically sound.
Well, but I mean, like,
Right.
at some point you do abandon logic, but you really have to try to apply logic enough. And I think, yeah, there's been some laziness in this show
Well,
where they're just like, we want these moments, so whatever.
why?
Right. There's a shot list.
Why
and
force
they
me
don't- They don't
to?
necessarily line up.
It's like because they're forcing us to care about water rights and land disputes, but can't give us a realistic Wookiee fight. You know what I mean? Like that's the thing.
Yeah,
It's like
right.
why are we having 25 minutes discussions about how important it is that those sand people have their own land, and then you can't show a Wookiee actually ripping someone's arms off because that's what he would do. There needed to be some kind of peril that he finds himself in, or Boba Fett had to have some sort of way out early.
Yeah.
It didn't need to be a 10-minute fight and then
Mhm.
get saved by, the refrigerator gang. Like it was just weird.
Well, and even that, not that we're going to reshoot the whole show or whatever,
We will.
but like
We're
you
doing
got you introduced this idea of these enhanced people. How easy would it have been the Wookiee to like grab a kid and like pull his arm off, and it's the mechanical one, so he's
Right.
just like
Right.
"Meow, meow," and another one like pops out in its place or something.
Yeah, there you go.
Or like it wiggles and like blasts him in the face with fire.
Well,
like,
because
there's
then
so
that's
many things there.
fun, right? That's
Right.
creative
Mhm.
and it's fun, and it's
Right.
going, okay, what are the ingredients that are going into this battle,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and how can we use them to their fullest? But no,
Yeah.
it's not. There's a little bit of that, but like,
Is one of the Lollipop Kids, little Grey Worm, or whatever his name is from Game of Thrones,
I know you're talking
the
about
eunuch?
the leader of the Sullied. or the
Yeah,
Unsullied.
I didn't look it up
I-
on the
he
IMDb.
looks like him. I'll give you that.
Grey Worm, right?
I
Grey
do know that
Worm,
the
groundworm.
the girl that kind of challenges him when they're talking about water.
Yeah.
She is on the show Yellow Jackets on Showtime,
Oh, okay.
which
See,
is a pretty decent.
the
That show's
thing
off
that
the rails,
sucks,
So,
everything I think about when it comes to these shows, especially the Star Wars stuff, is that you got Grey Worm, you got this girl from Yellowstone or whatever, and
Yellow Jackets.
the Yellow Jackets, and this is unfortunately,
Dad.
yeah. This like so they're burning their Star Wars career right now, doing the
Oh, right.
worst part in the worst show, and so
yeah,
it
that's
just
like
and it sucks.
unfortunate because
Yeah.
all of them, they're like, oh, the next thing coming hot off of Mandalorian.
Yeah, yeah.
And they're like, wait, I'm doing a what?
I have to wear what in my eye?
And I'm riding a who's a what? What's happening?
Why
Wait,
can I
oh
see
God.
so many things behind me?
Where's my? Let me just text my agent real quick. Hold
Yeah,
on.
yeah. No, totally burning. And I think about that, like in Solo, which I didn't care much for that movie, but those guys, they're all burned. I mean, not really, because I mean, Chris Evans has played 7 different Marvel superheroes, so it's fine.
Yeah.
It can be fixed, but you're just wasting your turn to get a cool role in a cool show when you play a terrible character. And the thing we talked about it last week, the bar was so high with Mando, and in
for sure.
particular, granted we're talking about season 2 of the show, but I mean the season finale of that show was just so perfect in terms of just the right amount of member berries, just the right amount of Jedi stuff. Like, just had all the things that just hit for me, and even threw in like a little bit of the music was kind of not Star Wars for a second. There's a lot of stuff going on that worked. So to have this show feel like it's just hitting so far off the mark is making for a delightful conversation.
That's the thing. It makes for way better podcasts.
Yeah.
And so I'm thankful that it's an uneven show.
Right.
Again, I think it really, for me, it comes down to tone. I just go, what am I supposed to think about?
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
What am I supposed to take seriously? So sand people and water, all this stuff. Okay, this is serious things that they're trying to have analogies to the real world with. Okay, great. And I don't know what this newest, because I mean, as we're filming this, I mean, episode 5 just dropped today. I haven't seen it. I don't know if the sand people thing is going to get picked back up, because that
Don't say
they
anything,
made that a
Nico.
real dead
I'm not
end.
gonna say anything.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
I will try to.
But see, the
So-
thing is that also with the whole, like, the refrigerator chase with the Twi'lek mayor's,
Yeah.
first in command, it was
Sonic
so
guy.
bad and so
Yeah.
slow and so
Well,
awkward.
too, you don't care
No.
about the outcome.
No,
I didn't care at all if they
Right.
catch the guy or not. I'm like,
no.
Yeah. Right.
like the
Yeah.
annoying
no skin there.
secretary guy. You're chasing the secretary?
Yeah.
Who cares?
My favorite thing about car chases in movies, and I think it's a huge mistake, is they had the classic, like, I'm gonna break off and go another way, which, you know what I mean? So the 4 bikers, and then like 2 of them break off and they turn left. And it's like, that's a great idea, except if the guy running away turns right.
Right.
And then 2 of your gang are just gone. Like, they're
Completely
just
in the
Right.
out of it.
Well,
It always bugs me when they do that, when somebody breaks off. I mean, unless it's one of those things where, like in Indiana Jones, or Last Crusade, where that one biker breaks off and goes up on a mountain trail. It's because they know there's probably one in, one out. But when you're in a city, you could turn right. Like,
Right.
you could go the other direction, and then
Right.
those 2 people are just gone.
yeah.
So that killed me. And then like everything was slow. And I think we mentioned that about the fight scene too, is that they forgot to like crank up the film speed.
Right. Episode
'cause-
1, that fight was already showing. It's like,
Yeah.
the editing.
Yeah. So it's like this too, and that's how you could tell, like, they were obviously on wheels, and the guy who designed the floor and then the motorcycle didn't realize that, they're gonna waver in the sand.
Right.
Like, they're gonna, when they turn the corner, they're gonna wiggle a little. And if these were floating jet propelled bikes, they wouldn't do that. It just wouldn't happen. And
Well,
then
and also
it's-
the whole
oh,
like
man.
crash into the fruit, and that's how it ended. It was just so trite. And okay, so you've just
Yeah, it's
set
like
me
it's
up.
supposed to be the manure. Like,
Yeah.
you might as well just crash
to
the
the
manure
Future.
and it's
Yeah.
Back to the Future.
Exactly.
Just do it because you're homaging it.
Episodes 1 or chapters 1, 2, and half of this one, you have murdered like 20 banthas. You've
Yeah.
killed sand people, kids. It's been dark in the
Right.
flashbacks, and then flash forwards have been boring. So you've
It's
got like
been
this
trite.
dark story where it's just like I got rescued by these people and I fell in love with them, and they were all literally like, it was basically a genocide, right?
Yeah.
Then next up, you've got Boba sitting on a throne with this fantastic actor that they give no lines to, and he just constantly goes, "Tell me more about my city." That's the show right now, and it's awful.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just
And two, because
him
you don't
brooding.
have a feeling that he has any idea what he's doing.
Mhm.
Like, I don't have any faith that
Yeah.
he knows what he needs to do. And I think
Yeah.
I talked about this in maybe episode 2 or something. That, yeah, I'm just kind of like, is he competent? Is he not?
Mhm.
And are the flashbacks and the present day supposed to show me that he doesn't know what he's doing in either? You know, like
Yeah,
he's out
that's
of
what's
his element
nerve-wracking.
everywhere.
Not
And
to
when's he gonna
mention
get in his element.
that where like the Hutts, when the Hutts kind of showed up and have the conversation with the Wookiee, that was so interesting. And then they show up with the Rancor in this episode, and the Wookiee's there, and you're just kind of like, oh, these characters are really interesting. They've got a history, they've got a past. And then they're like, hey, we're effing off. And you're like,
Yeah.
take me with you. Can I come with you wherever you're going? Because this is
Yeah, it's
your
like,
story.
oh, this thing that has potential to go
Yeah.
somewhere. Yeah, yoink.
Yeah.
Nope.
I
This isn't
hate
gonna
it.
Be the thing.
I hate it when interesting characters are introduced and then they're like, no, we're going to do this other thing. And then they're just gone. It drives me crazy because you're
Well,
just
yeah, 'cause it
wasting a
feels-
relationship.
Yeah, and it feels like a Marvel post-credit scene or something where you're just like, oh, it's a teaser for the next thing. Okay,
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
is that what this was? I don't
Right.
know. Are they going to show up in the Obi-Wan show? I don't know.
More Desert brought to you
Oh,
by
that's a
Disney
flash-
Plus.
That's in the past, though. I'm losing everything. Like, part of me, I think after was an episode, one of them was like, oh, I think after this episode, I was like, oh, are they gonna bring Darth Maul into it? And I'm like, oh wait, no, Darth Maul did die like
Right.
6 years before this, or
Yeah.
10 years before. But I'm like, do we care? Just bring Darth Maul into it because I need someone that's compelling and like fearsome.
Mm-hmm.
And so I go, oh, there's stakes. The show, and this is the thing. This is the absolute thing from minute one. Is this show, Mandalorian, grabbed you with a conflict that you go, oh, this character is going against the grain, and he is now in trouble for
Mhm.
this decision he's made.
Mm-hmm.
The Book of Boba Fett, I've never felt that. I've never felt the, oh man, there's this crazy conflict, and what's he gonna do? Whoa,
Mhm.
yeah. Instead, I'm going, oh, okay, he's gonna sit and people will complain to him. Just like Game of Thrones when they were like, oh, we're now the kings of the north again.
Right.
All right, let's hear your petty squabbles because this is the actual job. Meow meow.
Yeah.
And this is
Absolutely.
that show.
Yeah. It's an attempt at poorly making Casino mixed with Goodfellas, mixed with Godfather in space. And it's just up until end of episode 3, just not working right now for me at all. And watching it, it's just so droll. I mean, I think the actors are
It's
so
hard
capable,
because
and all these things
timelines
are
still
happening.
so far apart.
Yeah, but Boba Fett's boring, like as a character, because he just broods and he's just like clunky and yeah, like you said, seems incapable. And the most interesting characters are getting no screen time and no lines. And then you introduce even worse characters, the speeder bike gang. Just like what?
Right.
No, thank you. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
really weird, man.
The neon teens.
The neon toaster riders.
Yeah.
Toaster choppers. But
So
yeah, any parting thoughts on chapter 3?
how did because they're blending, what was the third part? After, is it because it opens with the speeder teens, and then it The middle one is the assassination attempt,
Mhm.
right?
And then the last
then-
bit is him letting the Wookiee go free.
Is that
Or
towards
the
very-
speeder chase. The speeder chase, I think, is how it ends.
Oh, with the mayor, where they try to,
Yeah.
where the
Trying to get
revelation
to
that
the
the
mayor.
mayor is working with the Pikes.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
And he can't
Okay.
find the mayor, and I'm supposed to care.
Right. Well, yeah, because don't they
I like
talk
that.
about how like the Fortuna was managing it with uneasy alliances, but then lining the pockets of the mayor, but the mayor had no influence whatsoever.
Right.
So it's like, so why are we going to see him again?
Right.
If he literally like what?
Yeah.
Why?
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's some mistakes. There's some
And also, so they go in and he runs into the chamber, and so Boba and Fennec go after him, and they're like, he locked the door. Like, they're mad that he locked the door.
did he lock
He
the
locked the
door?
door. Did he lock the? Can you believe he locked? Well, blast it. It was like, what are you guys doing? This has gotten like so cheeseball. I can't even deal with it.
Right.
Yeah.
And again, yeah, I talked. Yeah, the parting thing I think with tone is like they're trying to Taika Waititi it, but it's like you have to. That has to be there from moment one. If again, this is tone. If you're gonna do that silliness,
Mm-hmm.
this got to be built in. And the Taika Waititi approach is it's wacky. We're gonna take the piss out of everything, but we're starting there.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? You're still gonna care about these characters because they're still gonna be real and there's still gonna be stakes and whatever, you know.
Yeah.
But like this show, you're just kind of like, yeah, it's here. Oh, now it's there. Now they're trying to do that kind of funny, wacky thing. Now it's kind of like a Xena episode. Now it's a who knows? Yeah,
There has to be heart, and there is no heart. There is no relationship. The reason that Thor Ragnarok worked was because there was tremendous amount of heart throughout that whole show. You already had characters that you love, sure, but so do you do in Boba Fett as well. I mean, especially like Fennec, if you were a fan of anything previous, the animated stuff, you're a fan of this character, so you know her, and so there's already backstory. But Thor had heart because all the characters, even the big rock guy, you cared about him and kind of his conversation, and yeah, it's great.
Because in his taking the piss out of things, he makes them real, right? He takes lofty things and he brings in the mundane day to day.
Right.
And so I think that's the thing is they're trying to find that humor in this Boba Fett show where Boba Fett walks up to the counter and the secretary's like, "Hi, do you have an appointment?" You know, and it's like, "Oh, he's doing this to Boba Fett. Oh boy," but it's just not landing because you're going, "Is this what? Oh, this is what the show is now. What's happening?"
That's also very hard to do after you just had a scene where you show him burning the kid.
Right. Exactly.
You gotta like you start light and
Yes.
you build towards kid burning.
Yeah.
You don't go kid burning and then go light after.
And then have someone run their speeder into manure. That doesn't work.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
you're right. You're
Marty
not
McFly
wrong. It's all
crap.
over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Those are my final thoughts.
Tone and
It
and
is
things.
enough though. It is enough on the wacky side to make it across my 3-episode try threshold though.
So for you,
For
it's
me,
still past it.
It's still going. Yeah.
Okay.
If I didn't have 40-minute bike rides in the morning, I don't know if I would watch it. So let's go there. That works.
fair.
So Dave Filoni, Jon Favreau, we love you. We're huge fans. Robert Rodriguez, we love you. But we do have some thoughts. So hit us up on Instagram at smokinghotnerds, just in case, and we'll give you some ideas. It'll be great.
Yeah, I would
But
love to.
you
I would
guys-
love to do a logistical map of an entire season, and just be like, wrong,
Right.
wrong,
Right.
wrong, which would be an excellent segue into chapter 4 if you're ready.
Let's do it. Chapter
Yeah,
4
yeah.
it is.
Oh, I have so many problems with chapter 4.
Do we need to do a breaky break thingy?
You guys
No.
need a bathroom?
Reclap.
No, we're good. Are you still rolling?
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm still rolling. But so we have thoughts on chapter 4. We had few thoughts on chapter 3.
I might
We had a
have
few.
differing if you guys. Yeah. Okay. I
No,
want to
no.
hear your guys' feelings on 4. Let me remember what happened.
Okay, so I'll get the overview, right?
Let's start
so
there.
this chapter 4 is the story of why Finnick and Boba Fett have a bond. So
Right.
it
Okay,
opens
yeah.
with the tie-in to the Mandalorian, where Boba Fett is out in the desert and he sees the flares go off, which is from the Mandalorian when they were when the Mandalorian and the kid bounty hunter were tracking Fennec Shan, and she had the high ground and they used the flares to blind her.
Mhm.
So then eventually, the young bounty hunter shoots Fennec,
Right.
which that all
Gut
works. That's
shot.
yeah, a gut shot, which is great timing because, to your point, he's riding a bantha, right? So he's going to see those flares, and I think that gut shot was like the next day kind of thing. So yeah, that's about right. Like he sees the flare, and it took him a whole day on that slow ass bantha to get to her. So then we get the revelation that she's alive in the Mandalorian, and she kind of shows the mechanics inside. So we don't know how that got there, right?
Yeah,
So
right.
we find out that Boba sees her and then takes her
We
to
luckily get a very detailed moment by moment of how she ends up getting the thing.
Right.
yeah, so she takes her to a mod shop, and there's
So
the
bad.
whole like flexing with cash, which is fine. And then she gets modded, and then you get that you saved my life, I owe you mine kind of a bond, which is a cliche thing, but I'm not mad at it. It's a good
Whatever.
interesting
I
thing,
am.
right? And then he says, okay, so I need you to help me get my ship. Does he call it the Firehawk? He calls
right,
it something.
because it's not the slave.
It's not Slave One anymore. It's like it's Fire something.
I think they were gonna call the episode "How Boba Got His Slave Back," but they were like, "We can't,
We can't.
can't
That's,
do it."
Yeah, do it.
that's not okay.
Right. So his debt is, I saved your life. You help me get my ship. We'll call it a day,
Mhm.
kind of thing. So then you get the cool little Jabba's palace invasion scene where they send the probe in and they map it out. And instead of going in guns blazing, they say we're going to be sneaky. And then they sneak in, and then you've got the cool little droid fight with the little like Benny Hill scene with the micro droid. And then he gets the ship.
battle.
Yeah,
Mhm.
he
Kitchen
gets
battle.
the
The
rat
kitchen.
catcher. Yeah. And then he gets his ship, but of course there's trouble there, and she does a cool little shot, and they get out. And then he's like, I need some vengeance. So he runs down the speeder gang, and then this was my number one qualm with this episode was they then go to the Sarlacc pit to retrieve his armor,
Mm-hmm.
which he knows
Got
was
taken off
taken
of
by
him.
the Jawas.
Right.
So
Or
while
at least it's certainly a stretch
it's
to go
right,
if
it's
he
not in
can't
the Sarlacc pit.
remember what happened.
Right. Yeah.
So while
It's like
all of
you
that
got
was
out with it.
right, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
That's
While
how you
all of
got
that
out.
was
You'd be
amazing,
dead
like the
otherwise.
whole
Mm-hmm.
turning the ship, floating, looking the assault, the use of the seismic charge, that is all like that is literally a checklist of like, I want to do this cool thing, but then they didn't think about why they're doing it, because if you watch, I think it's chapter 1, he's awake when the Jawas take his armor off, because they kind of kick him around a little bit.
Yeah.
So like he knows that it's not in the Sarlacc pit.
Right, he wakes up and they knock him out again.
Because he used his freaking flamethrower thingy to get the heck out of there. Like, what is going on?
Right. So that
Yes.
whole thing of like, if my armor's anywhere, it's in there. It's like, we all know that you know you're wrong.
Right, it's like the person directing this, were they told by the people who directed the Robert Rodriguez?
Yeah.
I don't know who directed 4.
It wasn't him. It
I
wasn't him. It
didn't
was
look
somebody
into
else.
it. Right.
But it's like, so
No
that
one.
whole
They
thing
just
of,
let
like,
him do whatever.
that whole thing of like bombing the Sarlacc. Like again, it's
the Jawas directed
it was great fun to watch, but it did not need to be there because it's so wrong.
Yeah.
And then
So dumb.
so he
Right,
kills
there were
the
some cool
Sarlacc,
shots
and-
from it, but again, that's the
Yeah.
thing. It's there's this artwork you can tell. It's like, yeah, the Doug Chang art department pre-production is having a field day, and then it's like, again, like we talked about episode 3. Oh, okay, well, figure it out. This has to happen.
Yeah,
Mhm.
line it up.
So we don't care how you get there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, maybe
And then-
we should care.
So he gets a ship, and he basically says to Fennec, "Your debt is paid," and she's like, "Yeah, I'll hang out. Like I got nothing to do.
Right.
So
I'll
and
hang out."
and
So it's
scene.
Like, okay,
Let's end just the synopsis right there, because
Sure.
that I thought this episode was over, and then they bring it to present time right after that of him
Oh, right.
having, so now we're continuing the story after catching Mayer's best friend in the manure pile. I was like, wait, we're continuing the show? Like we're continuing after we just did all of that?
Here.
Okay. I won't blab forever because I want Eric to throw in his stuff here, yeah. But the thing is that all that entire thing did was just told us what we already know. Yeah. And it was so annoying because I loved when Boba Fett shows up in The Mandalorian with Fennec, and Mando sees Fennec and he's like, uh-oh, wait, you're alive? And then she shows her mechanical gears. Mm-hmm. Cool. End of story. That's all we need to know. We're good. We don't need him to go into a mod shop with the guy from Train Spotting. No. What's the train that goes that where the only people Snowpiercer. Why do we have to have this moment where we see this montage of him putting the thingies into her guts? It was so bad and so cheesy.
Yeah, right.
I couldn't even deal with like what was going on.
This show is. This show is. Oh, there was some mysticism about things. There was some mystery.
Yeah.
You don't know how it happened. Well, don't you worry. We're gonna fill in every gap.
Yeah.
Exactly. Not only every gap, we're gonna fill in every second within the gaps of the gaps.
Of all these gaps. Yeah.
And
we're gonna show Boba Fett sitting on his throne watching TiVo.
It's just so weird, man. Yeah. So, anyways, but you didn't
Netflix and chill tonight. Yeah, whatever.
Right.
We got nothing else to do. Should we be trying to run this takeover or this Dominion we trying to etch out? I think I want to watch Hulu tonight.
Moochie hungry.
There's a new Property Brothers.
What? Moochie, Property Brothers, or Flipper Flop? Flipper Flop it is.
Old Bones, okay. Yeah, I haven't seen the new...
Old Bones? I think it's Good Bones.
Because then what happens when it brings it to modern times? Then it's
Old Bones.
He goes to
Be the worst
the cantina. Cantina Part 2. And then the Wookiees in there getting drunk, and
I enjoyed that Wookiee moment. That should have been the Wookiees introduction.
I hated it.
Well, I didn't understand
it was
what was
stupid
happening
the way
right
it
away.
happens,
Yeah.
but I don't know. It's like
it was such a
I
stretch.
think that was the kind of stupid that I was like, yeah, whatever. Now, whoops.
Good night.
Her flash dance, like talking about his backstory forever was like a lot, right?
Yeah.
Well, you used to be. Remember when you were in the pits? Remember how you were a gladiator? I wish then they would have had a flashback, like a 40-minute flashback of him in the pits.
The episode is just 3 hours long of flashbacks.
That's my my troll idea is just do a flashback and then have a flashback and just keep flashing back within flashbacks.
It's just Family Guy at that point.
And it's so far into the future because you flash back so far that everything's resolved.
It's so bad.
Weeks ago.
But that's the thing. So I'm looking at so this was what I was super confused in that moment when the Wookiee gets up and he's beating up these guys, because I'm like, okay, so are they cheating, and is he like so he sees them cheating.
Yeah, why?
So he's going to go beat them up because they're cheating. And then she comes up to him and she's like, you were a legend in the pits. So I'm thinking he was a pit boss in casinos beating up cheaters. And then she keeps on going. And I'm like, okay, now I'm completely lost. So he was some kind of warrior guy who fought. So why is he beating up these lizards for no reason?
Right.
It was another one of those things where we've got this idea.
Racist.
Exactly. We got this idea. He fought in the pits.
Well,
he's feeling violent. He's feeling drunk. We need to get it out there.
And he doesn't know what he's supposed to do with his life. He's having I'm at the bottom of my bottle, and I'm having a midlife Wookiee crisis.
Yeah. And
getting gray.
I didn't notice it the first time, but on second view, after he tears the guy's arm off, whatever, he like drops a bunch of credits in one of the Twi'lek's hands. So I think the idea was that those guys had stiffed the Twi'lek with whether she was their host or whatever.
No, he paid his bar tab. That was the thing. She was like, "I'll wipe your debts if you let him go," and he does it anyway, and then pays her. He would rather get his violence out and pay the bill than
Oh yeah,
get his
if
debts.
that's what happened, I didn't read it that way, but if that's what happened, then yeah, that whole thing doesn't make any sense.
Useless, completely useless. All it got us
Especially-
to was
It's one of
Boba
those things
saying,
too, where it's like if
"You need
she's
a
talking him
job."
up about how amazing he is, and then basically just like continuing to dig his hole of
Yeah.
depression, he should have torn her arms
Yeah,
off.
well, but wouldn't it made more sense for us to? Here's the thing. I'm gonna go off on.
You're fine.
I'm not anything. Okay, I make commercials. But I've been a writer in my lifetime, and I know a couple of things that I've learned from very, very, very good / basically famous writers. And one of those things is show me, don't tell me. That's just a rule. And this show is full of tell me, don't show me. And that's one of the things. If we cut from, like, I'm already tired of Boba and Fennec at the end of the first, half hour of the show.
Right.
Cut to the Wookiee going back to his roots because he's bored and he's in a pit fighting some
Fight Club style,
creature, ripping his arms off, getting paid, and Boba is there and he's like, "You look bored, you need a job." That sounds like a lot better of an idea
For sure.
than for her to go off on him beating up a
Remember
bunch of
how
lizards.
You were awesome one day.
Yeah,
Way back when.
yeah.
Well, 'cause
Or-
even the fact that it's even a harder sell to be like, oh, he's depressed. Like, no, he got caught. He got defeated by 20 people and thrown into an empty Rancor pit. And then when he was presented back to his employer, they're like, nah, we're fine.
Mm-hmm.
And then he says, like, go away. It's just business. No hard feelings kind of thing. That's not enough to drive you into like a depression.
Mm-hmm. Sounds pretty great to me.
So yeah, it's one of those
Yeah.
like even him just
he
being
would
like,
be in the brothel.
yeah, right. Even
Right.
him being just like depressed in a bar doesn't track as far as like a logical character choice or a character.
Go full on
motivation.
Tyrion Lannister and like end up with just a bunch of girls or what, like do something else. Another thing that drives me crazy in shows is when
End up with wake up next to a bunch of banthas going, "Oh, what have I done?"
I had
good-
too much
so
blue
a
milk
better-
last
Like,
night.
A better thing to do at the bar would have been to have him sitting there drinking and having like 2 or 3 toilet girls around it, and then have the Tradoshans come up and just flash a little bit more cash and like take the girls away.
Yeah,
You know,
something.
kind of.
There's
Yeah,
no
it's kinda
motivation.
Like that thing where, like, with
Yeah,
the
that's the
people
thing.
with the money come in and flex it,
Yeah.
and he's like, "Wait a minute, they were my guests, quote unquote," and then he just goes into a Wookiee rage and beats him up. That would have been
Yeah.
more sense than him just getting drunk in a bar. It doesn't.
Right. Well, he was
doesn't
getting
track.
drunk off of a prop glass that had nothing in it. By the way, in that
yeah,
first
I mean-
slow push, it drives me crazy when characters don't have anything in the glass and he's like fake drinking. So he's fake drinking out of a fake cup into his fake mouth in a fake mask, and it's just like everything about that moment was so fake. And you're like, what are you doing, man? Like, you guys aren't even trying right now. And it's really getting frustrating because there's no attempt at making this compelling. There's so much talky and no show. Because even at that point in this episode, he's like, Boba Fett, looks like you need a job. Cut to nothing. You know, it's just like
Yeah.
because then they cut to the sit down with all of the people, and still no Wookiee, no show of power, no nothing. It's just so weird, man.
Well, no, I
Yeah.
thought he was there. I thought Kirsten was there in the background.
No,
I could have swore he was.
no, I don't think so. I think he was drinking out of a
That's
cup full of
a great
nothing.
segue into that meeting
Yeah.
to like finish the episode. Is that how the episode ends?
Well, yeah, because at
Yeah.
the meeting, and then they talk about how it was BS. And
It
then he
ends with
says,
me sobbing.
We need muscle. I have money.
And
Money
then
buys
they
muscle.
play the Mandalorian theme, and it's over, and I'm like,
Yeah, they did.
wow. We're gonna bring him in to salvage the show,
But
that
that's-
doesn't that's gonna ruin the Mandalorian.
But that's
Season
exactly the point that I've been waiting to make this whole entire night or for the last 8 minutes is
Only
that
felt like all night.
is that this show sucks so much that the only thing they can do to make it interesting is bring the Mandalorian in. That seems like the only way that this can make it better. and whether because they're going to tie it into the show somehow, obviously.
I'd say just bring Darth Maul back from the dead, please. Just do that.
Right.
Because if we want to have member berries, the show, it's just what this is.
Mm-hmm.
Just to have Darth Maul not be dead, man.
Yeah, why
How
not?
mad do you guys want to get right now?
I don't want to get mad. No, I'm pretty mad already. But we're not
mean, you
talking
can
about.
spoil if you
We're not
want to,
talking
but,
about
we
chapter
shouldn't
5.
for the
No, we're
sake
not
of-
talking about it.
I
No,
know, we
because
shouldn't.
this isn't coming out for 2 weeks, so we're not even going to get into it.
Yeah.
And I haven't watched it. Eric hasn't watched it, and neither of you, Nick, because it's very obvious what's going to happen. But that would be our prediction. But the thing is, that's a problem. Is that the show has no heart.
No, yeah, you're not.
It's got
you're not
no
wrong.
soul.
This building, like, so the conflict now is there's a scene where the neon teens spy a bunch of, we assume, Pike mercenaries getting off of a transport. So the Pikes are
Right.
starting to flood Mos Eisley with their people, and there's a big scene of them getting off the transport. And so what they're setting up now is that it is 1,000,000% going to be a turf war
Mm-hmm.
on the ownership of Mos Eisley, or probably of Tatooine in general. Of the Pikes were sitting in a nice place generating spice and selling spice, and then Boba Fett came in and said, we'll do this protection thing, and then somebody wiped out his protection. So there's the argument of, like, was it really the bikers? Because I think they actually say something along those lines of, is a bike gang really able to wipe out the Tuskens? That doesn't make any sense. So people are already kind of like, I don't know if that necessarily floats. Meaning, did the Pikes go in and wipe out the Tuskens? So, right, it's building to that. But then, yeah, Boba Fett in this position of, like, I kind of know what I'm doing, has, like, walked into this turf war unknowingly, thinking he was gonna have, like, the easiest job ever, where people just walk up and give him cash. And now he's like, oh my God, I actually have to do this, like, diplomatic, like a war general type thing of, this city is about to explode in a civil riot. And I'm supposed to be, like, the bad guy, but I have to be, like, this good guy now that, like, prevents all the innocents from dying. Like, what is happening?
Okay, so see, that all sounds compelling. If
But
the city seemed like it was a tinderbox.
exactly.
If you actually
like if there were
felt
little, like,
a
stuff.
threat of, oh my gosh, there's a power vacuum, and it's looming, and Boba Fett's thinking he could just walk in. Like, if we were getting that, there you go, with some kind of conflict that makes you go, uh-oh, this bad stuff's coming, instead of going, I guess I'll watch again next week, see what happens.
But see, that's the
But
whole
it's-
thing. There isn't anything going on to suggest that there's any peril. That when
Like, it
he
should
was,
be Mogadishu.
yeah,
Like, this should be like Black Hawk Down, or like, if you want to push
Exactly.
it really hard, be like, oh man, you want to take this city over, dude?
Mhm.
You sure about that?
Well, yeah, because we get introduced to, like, the workers union, and you get introduced to, like, right, you
Again.
have one of those things where one of these 3 captains has decided to, like, envelop the others, you know, so you can have things with, like there's no work, which is, like, I think that was, like, just a bad writing example of them taking something where it's like, okay, so nobody's in charge of the workers unions now except for me, so I'm gonna price fix all this stuff. I'm gonna squeeze out certain people so that my group of people can work. Very classic mobster stuff, right? So that writing is there, but then there's no execution on the writing. Like, you don't see, like, all of these great landscape shots never have, like, a billowing black smoke in a corner.
Yeah.
Or
it goes back to, there's no showing.
Right.
What you're
Right.
saying, man.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're not, I don't think you're wrong.
But that's the
there. I
thing. He's standing at the top of that balcony with Fennec, and he's like, "Are you ready to go to war?" And I'm like, I have no idea what he's talking about, because there's
Yeah.
nothing.
Who
There's
fighting
no.
why?
There's no enemies, because the Hutts already said they're gone, and there's just so much. There's absolutely no enemy. There's no one, like you said, Eric, that's suggesting that there is something about to go off, because so far all we've seen is him get snuggly with a Rancor monster and walk around town with his helmet off with no problems by himself.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I don't know what they're and everything is so clean. Like the biker gang that can't work Well, they found money for a car wash because their freaking toasters are shiny.
Yeah,
Mhm.
right.
So
right.
and
And
they're
again, they're complaining, but it's like millennials. It just comes off like kids going, "Oh man, it's so terrible," and it's like, you feel like you got a pretty cushy life, so I don't know what you're complaining about.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
exactly.
But yeah, if that city was like terrifying to walk into, because you walk into Jessica Biel's, is that her name?
Yeah.
What's her name? Jennifer Beals.
Jennifer Beals.
And it's just like the chillest, nicest,
Yeah.
calmest,
Everyone's just chilling,
cushy
man.
bar. And so I think talking about that, I'm like, man, if the whole place just seemed dangerous as hell, then there's something.
Well,
to
yeah,
fight
if it
with.
had the tone of the city when Mando meets Ahsoka Tano,
Yeah. Yeah.
where that general has taken, and people like they close the shutters and they scurry away when strangers walk by, right? If it had that feeling of, as opposed to people getting off the Star Cruiser like, like there's actually one scene where the lady like runs up like, like big hugs, like, no man, there should be like makeshift barricades and people posted with guns and like
And
make it
because
feel
the Empire
dangerous.
isn't here,
Yeah.
there is a giant vacuum.
It's a you know what show.
There
and
used to
not
be
seeing that.
stormtroopers everywhere, and you hated them, but guess what? There wasn't crazy, horrible violence like there is now. Yeah, if that was happening, and then you have, someone like Boba Fett, who you go, well, this is this badass who doesn't care about whatever, shoots first, asks later, all that stuff that we kind of want to think the character is. Then, like you're kind of saying, Nico, it forces him to then go, I got to be the good guy because I want power. But this place is awful. I got to get this under control. So
I got to put the fire out first.
And Fennec needs to be like, dude, what's, like she has to be this, like he needs to try and be the, I got it figured out. We'll figure it out. And she's got to be like, dude, no, we don't. We are screwed. We need we need muscle. We need weapons. We need all this stuff.
Yeah,
we
well, and
need
it's also
3 weeks ago.
it's blown up.
Exactly.
I can't remember if it's chapter 3 or chapter 4, but like they're sitting at the table and there's all that food to the point where he sends one of the droids away. It's like, no, if you're gonna do that, you have a conversation about like, he walks up and the table's empty and says, what's going on? And she's like, our transport was hit again. The workers union took it and they barricaded the whatever, there's no more food, like that kind of thing. Like add some squeeze to this stuff, because for right now it just feels like he walked into like a $1 billion company that's just already generating revenue, and there's the issue is like a bad Twitter post, like there's no the threat of the Pikes, it hasn't come yet. Like they're not shutting down shipping lanes, they're not embargoing items, they're not killing political people for power, they're not they haven't murdered the mayor, they haven't barricaded the borders, they haven't done anything sinister. So there's no real struggle, there's no real threat of struggle.
Well, that's the thing, there's no sense of, because he basically took over, and let's face it, Bib Fortuna would not have kept the show running as well as he apparently
That's just
did.
what I was going to say.
Yeah.
It should be in turmoil because Bib Fortuna tried to take over.
Yeah.
And it wasn't going to happen.
Oh, well, that was what I was going to say too about the crazy tone of the show, is that they've set it up that Boba Fett literally walks in and murders Bib Fortuna.
Yeah.
And so it started this dark tone to begin with, and then cut to them talking about him all the time, and then just having this goofiness happening constantly in the present day, aspect of the show. So there's this, it's really weird that he is this cold-blooded murderer, and now he's just confused.
Who could barely get in to get his ship, but then he just, somehow walks right into the throne room.
Right.
Yeah, again, it's just this unevenness. It's like, what is he? Which one is he?
Yeah.
Is he this capable, fearsome dude, or
because he needed to walk into chaos, like you said, even within the palace, because with him being there and them having all the food and all the droids and all the resources, you can't be a killer if you're sleeping on silk sheets, and so he has I just don't know what's happening outside of the flashback stories. Like you know what's going on there, but I don't know what's going on when it comes to the actual story of the show,
Right.
And
Yeah, and that's
once
a big
again,
detriment. Every time
Yeah.
they take away from the present with flashbacks, yeah, you're losing the potential. But again, you could tell it, but they're not telling that story. There's no conflict. There's not enough of a conflict for you to go,
Oh, yeah,
man,
the statement
I got to
of-
tune in.
The
How's he
statement of
gonna
I
get
need
out of this?
muscle,
Right.
prepare for war. Like, war on what?
Mhm.
Right.
Sleepyville, USA. Yeah,
I don't,
it's like,
I don't, you haven't presented us with anything yet.
I just can't
That-
stop
are you
thinking
gonna
about.
talk to the insurance adjuster next week? Yeah, what's next? I can't wait for next week's episode.
Boba goes to State Farm.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Last week was it last? Yeah, the last conversation we had about this, is just the. It just seemed like there was going to be some sort of, I don't know if it was rescue, but something. You make these shows, not necessarily in sequence, but they've already ordered them all. It's been written. It's good to go. I'm very curious if they were aware after kind of making the show for a little bit that they're like, okay, we need to do something different because this isn't working, because it's just not interesting.
Yeah.
And I don't really get why there's so many characters. Like the round table, it was just like 8 or 9 new
Right.
characters.
All these people you've never seen, and you don't care
Yeah.
about any of them.
And you don't care about their conversation. And they're like, why should we listen to you? You should listen to me because of the thing that I've got downstairs that can't come up here. I don't
Right.
understand how that's even a flex. They'd be like, cool, we're just going to leave then because you can't kill us with a Rancor outside,
And
you
also,
don't-
they've
you don't
probably
have
seen
an
the
army.
trap door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've got 2 Gamorrean guards, these yahoos with their little spikes, and that seems to be it.
And this droid who 2 episodes previously you said couldn't speak other languages, now suddenly speaks other languages. It was just like, that was a nice retcon right there. Suddenly you're just telling now it's a
Retcon
protocol
from
droid.
2 episodes ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not. You usually don't retcon that quickly.
Yeah, it's such a, and they keep flashing back, and they keep on talking about Bib Fortuna and before the war, and it's just like, come on, man. Like, we remember, I'm mad about killing the Sarlacc, because I feel like that was the purpose of that moment, was to kill the Sarlacc.
It was like some kind of like
I assumed it
revenge
was already dead.
that
Yeah.
we were supposed to care about. Yeah.
Yeah, rather
Like, were
than
any
actually.
fans going, "Oh, I hope he kills that that Sarlacc, the pit of Harkoon."
Because they could have used it. Could have used it in an episode. It would have been great to bring that
I'm just
back.
mad that they were there in general.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
no,
a bit
it's
ridiculous.
Very true.
The scene is
Again, it
great.
makes him just look like an idiot. You're
Mhm.
going, this guy doesn't know what he's
Well,
doing.
and then
Yeah.
so analyzing that little bit, right? He flips over, the Sarlacc wakes up, grabs him, starts to pull him in. His blasters are located in an unfortunate angle that it's not going to do anything.
We've all been
Apparently
there,
all
fellas.
ships, you're taught how to operate a ship like you're taught how to read a book, apparently, because Finnick sees a flashing light and goes, I know what this is.
It's clearly the
unhooks herself.
sonic boom.
Goes up, hits it. Let's ignore gravity for a minute. It falls in, goes into the sandpit, explodes, and then his line to her is, "Don't push my buttons." Like,
Mhm.
bro,
Don't touch my stuff.
you weren't gonna get out of that.
Okay, and here's the thing that drove me really crazy right from the start of that. And mom and dad or anyone under the age of 10, if you're listening, I apologize for what I'm about to say. But
In
I'm
French.
riding my bike, my exercise bike, and he pulls Slave One, or whatever it's called now, over the Sarlacc pit about 2 inches from it, completely covering it, and then he goes, I can't see anything. It's like, yeah, no shit. You can't see anything. You covered up the sun with your giant ship, and then he turns on the smallest flashlight in the world and uses it to look for his armor that he
That he
knows
knows
he
isn't in
climbed
there.
out of the Sarlacc pit with on his body. And so we're at this point in the show where I'm just like, what is going on, man? what's going on? This is insanity.
It's
you
the
know?
it's that OFU moment where you just
Yeah,
want to
yeah,
walk
yeah.
up to the writer and be like, you know what, F you, man.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. You didn't even
are
try.
you even a Star Wars fan?
Yeah.
Like, do you know what this is about? Because
Have you finished the
here's-
script before?
here's the
Right.
other thing. The fun nuance of Slave One is that it flies upright, but then it goes reverse vertical to land.
Yeah.
How is it tipping forward?
Right.
It's
There's
grabbing
no-
the air, Nico.
There's no thrusters.
Because the thrusters
and
are going
when
the
they show
wrong
when
way.
they show the seismic charge come out,
Mhm.
the thrusters are on.
Yeah.
So it's like, is he driving it into the sand?
Right.
Like, it just, again, it's a logistical thing of like, oh, like how?
Well, because the ailerons that are at the bottom, they flipped backwards, so that makes the thrusters go backwards.
No, not doing it.
Yeah, it's
I'm not
insane.
doing-
It's
you know
insane.
what? I have a Lego Slave One right there. I'll bring it over and I'll show you how it doesn't
You
work.
have a Lego Sarlacc bit?
I can make one.
I'm gonna give me 20 minutes.
Give me
I
20 minutes
wonder
to
how
bring
many times an argument in the world
With
has been
speak or
settled with
without?
that line. I have a Lego Slave One right there.
I'm just gonna use it every time I'm in a pickle.
Yeah.
it. Let me go get my Rancor Bjorn.
I'm just gonna say,
and,
my friend Nico
Are you-
has a Slave One Lego. Let me call
right
it.
there.
Dude,
Actually, I have two. I have one
quit
right there.
talking to my
and,
girlfriend,
right
bro.
there.
I got a Lego Slave One.
Oh, you can't see that one. All right.
20 minutes.
20 minutes. Let me FaceTime him. Hang on.
Oh man, it's that just it. Like I said, it was such a cool scene,
Mhm.
Yeah,
but then
again,
it's
it's
just
cool
rife with
artwork.
problems. Yeah,
Mhm.
Someone has an idea, they make cool artwork, and then it's like, how do we string all these cool artworks together? I don't
Mhm.
know.
yeah, and
It's like literally, it's like they made the show going. You know what the best thing about the Mandalorian is? What, the artwork at the end. Oh, is that what you took away from
Right.
the whole show is
Yeah.
just the artwork.
It is pretty
yeah,
much.
so let's make artwork and then write a script around it.
Well, there's that bit in the episode where he carves out his own gaffy stick.
yeah,
So the
The
little
Forged in Fire.
yeah, the forged in fire moment
Yeah.
where they didn't actually quench the blade, so it's not hard, so it can't be sharp. But
Yeah,
the
I don't know how he's welding.
yeah,
all that.
right.
Yeah,
He's
all
welding
that.
with
It's
clay.
wonderful.
There's that moment
He
where
put the clay in the fire. So
yeah,
it worked.
yeah. They used an old Ralph McQuarrie drawing, and I recognize immediately because I have the Star Wars Indiana Jones
Is that
book.
the,
oh right,
And it's
right,
got and I mean I had it since I was little,
The
and so yeah, it's
architecture.
there's little arches and there's a couple of sand people. So they use that in the thing, which would be cool if it wasn't used in such a lame way. Using it as like their forge was just stupid. The whole point of the sand people anyways was just that they were just like this tribe that just wandered, and they lived in these desolate places, and they just turned it into that. And it's just, I feel like there's just misappropriation of really cool stuff versus how they used really cool stuff in Mandalorian, like the part in season 2 where Mando and the frog lady get stuck on the ice planet.
Oh yeah,
Those spiders were all a Ralph McQuarrie drawing from Dagobah. And so they thought
Okay.
that would be cool to use that for that. And it's like, yeah, that is cool. Like, that's a great use of that idea that never got used. So there's just little things like that that are
And it
annoying.
works because there's peril, right? It's
Right.
like, he's running away from the rebellion. Is that what it is? Or
Yeah.
yeah.
whatever,
The new Republic.
The
yeah.
two
Yeah.
fat
so
X-Wing
then
fighters.
he gets crashed into a cave, and
Mhm.
they're in a big spider cave. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. It's a little clunky monkey.
Yeah.
And then they're like-
it's like people aren't talking to each other at all. It's like there's
Yeah.
no communication between the departments. It's weird.
Well, it's very much a writer's assistant mailroom, trying to climb the ladder show. It feels like, the ideas are just getting passed up. They're like, hey, my cousin Hal, who works at the, Phillips 76, had this great idea. They're like, yeah, let's do it. What is it?
Cool.
Flying toasters. They're like, done.
Awesome. I love it.
And here's the thing, we're going to get really crazy. He also thinks that one of them should have 19 rearview mirrors. Deal. Tell him
Yeah,
it's in.
got it.
Cool.
Tell him it's
Now I
in.
know you're gonna go into your Batmobile theory. Don't think about that. Just throw that out the window. Just throw more crap on a thing, and it makes it cooler.
I think it make it cooler. Yeah, I mean, I just
Look
don't
at
know.
this dude. Now he has a dumb eye thing on him. Isn't he cooler? He's cooler.
And
And
they
then
made
we'll do
eye
a-
jokes, didn't they? Didn't they make
No,
some
Yeah.
like
we'll do eye jokes about
Yeah.
it. Keep an eye on it. Oh, sorry.
it's a thing people say. Like you're intergalactic. That's probably not a thing people say. That's an
Also,
Earth-based.
man,
like,
Boba Fett
colloquialism.
is so caring about everything.
Yeah.
I didn't know he was so caring under that helmet.
I didn't want to hurt kids' feelings. Yeah.
He did not want to hurt the kids' feelings. You know, part of me kind of wants the robot chicken Boba Fett to continue on.
Mhm.
You guys watch those?
No.
Where he's just the drunk idiot. Like a kind of frat boy. Yeah, it's like, just give us that Boba Fett.
Feels like
now,
that would make
whatever,
more
who cares?
sense.
Just retcon it.
Yeah.
Because then the tone would be consistent. You go, okay,
Yeah.
these are all morons. Everyone's incompetent. That's why all these things are happening. Makes sense. Okay.
Yeah. There's.
Yeah, I agree.
You're not wrong. It's just.
Oh man, if
He has-
Tatooine
he has
was
a-
Mogadishu, boom.
Yeah.
Boom.
He's
Problem
portraying this
There you
sense of
go.
dread, but you're not seeing it.
Tell me.
He's got
Don't
food.
show me.
He freely walks around the streets. You know, there
Mhm.
aren't like little gangs of kids stealing stuff from people in the streets.
Right,
There's-
because
not
and
burning
they
tires.
tried to do that with episode 1, but like the fight itself was like whatever. But
Yeah.
2, there was no feeling of like, oh, you can't just walk out in the street. But then he just goes right back out in the street. Yeah,
Mhm.
episode 1 I think was trying to establish that. That's like her and Fennec's the one of like logical person going,
You're supposed to
Mhm.
have a thing, yeah.
yeah, you need to have a bunch of dudes carrying you on the thing, which I don't know how that shows power. I mean, yeah, I get it's like whatever. I don't know. Yeah, the whole how the Hutts actually maintain power, but you buy it. You go, okay, Jabba the Hutt, he maintained power. However,
Mhm.
because he had money, thus army.
Yeah, right.
Boba
He had a
Fett's
backing.
got
Yeah.
no money. He's got no army. Who
Yeah.
cares? Next.
I think maybe
Well, they say he has
too.
they say he has money, but again, that's you can have the biggest bank account in the world, but
Yeah.
if you don't protect it, somebody's just going to come in and take it. Like
Exactly.
there's nothing saying nobody's going to come in and shoot Boba Fett tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah, you
it
should
would be
have a
real
feeling.
easy.
And apparently,
fact- the
yeah, he
fact-
sleeps in liquid every night, so
The fact that
it
like
wouldn't take long.
the fact that the Wookiee made it all the way to his back to tank without being stopped by either the
Yes.
guards or droids, it's like, all right, so you're running real loose.
He's not small.
Real loose ship. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think and they should feel in peril not only going into the city,
Yeah.
but even to protect the palace. I think even
Yeah.
the palace should have turmoil. Like it should be
Right,
everywhere, and he
right.
should be fighting for every inch of everything.
Mm-hmm.
And in that, you show him as being incredibly capable as a fighter, as a
Mhm.
his strategies, everything. You go, okay, this guy is the Boba Fett of legend.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And he's going to have to crawl his way all the way up to being in charge of everything. But oh boy, I'm watching him do it, and
know-
you're not seeing any of it.
That's actually an interesting thing too about the palace itself. That's really missing is that the palace itself was its own community,
Yeah,
and it was a very debaucherous place.
few of them
Yeah.
died. I get it. Like, yeah, at the Sarlacc pit. I'm sure all like the cool dudes. So like, okay. So again, if you want to be silly,
Mhm.
then it's all the B team was left over that wasn't cool enough to go to dumping Luke Skywalker into the Sarlacc pit.
Right.
Well, what
Right,
was it? Hold on, hold
right.
on.
It's
Just-
something.
Yeah.
No, I
Follow
just-
through.
Yeah,
I just put this
exactly.
together too. Wasn't the band on?
And
the
wasn't Bib Fortuna there?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Was he
I thought
Yeah.
I thought Fortuna was there, but also
on the barge.
Ma-
on the
Max
barge,
Rebo.
wasn't the band there because she isn't the blue guy? Isn't his name Max Greedo?
Max Rebo.
Yeah.
She says to the band after the Wookiee tears a guy out, I was like,
Right.
play
They
start playing
confirm
again,
it's
Max.
him. It's not
Mhm.
just another. It's not his.
Right. So it's like,
cousin.
wait a minute. If they were on the barge, what?
I think we're
Like, how-
talking about
how did-
we have to believe that there was some evacuation happening during the battle.
during the fight.
Yeah, so that's what we have to sort of believe. Not to
Oh, so
mention,
The wussies took off.
Yeah.
So Luke blew up an empty barge, kind of thing.
Well, yeah, empty-ish. Well, and that's the thing too is I mean, we could complain a little bit about Return of the Jedi where R2 dumps C-3PO and then he jumps right off and then the sand barge explodes and they're fine. And then when they go get picked up, there's no smoke, no debris, no nothing. You know what I mean? It's just stuff like that too. It's like, that doesn't really work, but it's okay. Yeah. Or did it blow up after they picked him up? Oh, it blew up after they picked him up. Never mind.
Yeah, because
I'm
they have
wrong.
that scene where they're like,
See? Even Return of the Jedi had it covered. But
Yeah, because there's people going, hold on, wait a minute. There are people in a room being a-holes to each other for the benefit of the script.
there's
for the
probably no
story.
a-holes in this writing situation.
And I just
Yeah.
think anyone who would be an a-hole that would solve this is too busy working on 3 other projects.
was
Yeah.
asked to leave.
Lucasfilm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
Right.
say, stop being a problem.
Not even, I just don't think they existed. I
Yeah.
think the show was just kind of existing in this void and nobody has time to worry about it.
Do you
And
think it
probably they
became
maybe
a
got to point
literal
when, ooh,
like it's supposed to be like is it supposed to be just like this little like appetizer in between the 2 major meals
Maybe.
between the Mandalorian and like Ahsoka and it's just supposed to like keep our interest. It's like the the amuse bouche or the little what's it the palate cleanser in
Right.
between like the sorbet in between the big meals.
Yeah, maybe it's a trolling, and they're like, "Oh, you thought you wanted a Boba Fett show? Well, here you go. Oh, do
Right.
you want it anymore? Okay, now we're gonna give you fresh stuff.
It's not
Are
the
you
Boba we
done
want.
with member berries?
It's the
'Cause
Boba
we're
we
all done
deserve.
with it.
Yeah, we're so done. There's
I mean,
no.
if that's their inside thought, great.
Then great.
I don't think that they would want to do that on purpose. I think this is just falling in between the cracks.
Mhm.
I don't know.
It's just it's violating all the rules of story. It's just filling in
Well-
all the cracks, and then it's filling in cracks the wrong way. Like Boba
Yeah,
going
right.
back for his armor and just stuff like that. It's just very weird.
How do we fix these cracks in the road? Bubblegum.
Mhm.
Well, I mean, it
Right.
also could have been somebody presented them with a treatment for a Star Wars story, literally a
Mhm.
90-minute movie,
Right.
and then someone's like, "You can make that 8 episodes, right?" And the
What
guy
if
was
we
like,
stretch the hell out of this?
Well,
I
I mean,
shouldn't,
it's
but
listed
I
as
mean, I
created
can.
by Favreau though. So I mean, I feel like it's
And he did right.
yeah, and he
At
wrote
least
like the first
some.
episode or something like that. So they're definitely involved.
For
It's
the
not.
second. I think he wrote the second one.
Yeah, we're not correct on saying that the mailroom is writing this, but it's definitely not getting the love that it deserves in any aspect.
Yeah.
Costume,
It's
set, all that stuff is
Yeah.
just really getting
you
wasted.
Can see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. You can
And
totally
I-
see it.
Yeah. And,
And-
so I'm like, okay, Ahsoka's going to be good because, oh boy.
Yeah.
Or if it isn't, then.
And Mando
maybe they
3
just
will hopefully be
happen to have
good.
One hit with Mando and
Yeah.
the
Well,
wheels
it's just
are
it
falling off right
needs
away.
to
I
be
don't
like
know.
if
Mhm.
Boba Fett is falling as flat as it is, if Ahsoka stutters or if Obi-Wan stutters, Andor's gone. Like they're
I'm worried about Obi-Wan show,
Mm.
and I don't want to be.
But more
was
desert? I
worried
don't
about
want
it
more
'cause I'm like-
desert.
Yeah, exactly.
'Cause
I'm like,
Mandalorian
people
was
gotta
in the
get off
desert, too.
Tatooine
well, that's what was
easily.
great about
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
Clone Wars, the animated series, is that they went everywhere.
That's why I
Mhm.
loved it.
Yeah,
And
they
like
went
Rebels, people
everywhere.
like, but I'm like
Mhm.
Rebels was tied to Lothal, and Lothal was boring as hell for me.
Mhm.
And yeah, Clone Wars, while you get stuck with like the younglings on a ship for 5 episodes, or
Mhm.
droids wandering the desert for what felt like 20 episodes,
Yeah.
at least that show could go wherever it wanted.
Same
you
with
know?
Bad Batch. Bad Batch was like
Yeah, Bad Batch has
everywhere.
freedom.
had
Right.
some really cool like that episode that they're in the that sort of like mining or whatever it was, like this giant smelting area. They were trying to find
The Bug Factory.
yeah,
Oh,
something like
right.
that.
Where
So you
they're
had this
melting
cool
down the droids from
Yeah.
Clone Wars.
Yeah, exactly. Terminator 2 sort of feel to it.
Mhm.
You had the forest, you got to go back to Camino. It was just
Yeah.
really cool, man. And there's no less budget in some respects, to do stuff like that.
Oh my
I just feel like there's like, let's keep it all on Tatooine, we'll just keep it where we can manage the budget or whatever. That's what it feels like,
Yeah.
all this boring
And-
stuff.
Well, it does
No,
feel like
Two
what was it?
Tatooine
Was it
shows
Casino?
coming down.
coming down the
Was it
pipeline.
Casino that was Vegas when it was first starting?
In the 70s, yeah.
Yeah, so this kind of feels like Casino, where like Chicago gangsters are set, New York City mobsters are set. Now there's this outlying little desert town that's got a little bit of water that is now the new breeding ground for our area, our legacy, our territory, but it's got issues. But that idea immediately falls apart when you realize that the Hutts have been in control forever.
Right.
Well, that
So it's
and
all-
there's
where are
no
we? Like,
Joe
what are we
Pesci.
doing here?
There's no one coming
Okay,
in
well-
to screw things up.
Yeah,
Okay,
right.
here's my
There's no mischief
conflict.
maker.
Mhm.
Yeah.
If I were to make this show now, from what I've seen, you know who's making this the cities a nightmare? The Sand People.
Ah, yeah.
And so now the flashbacks, you go, oh, now Boba Fett became a member of this clan, and now these are the guys that are wreaking havoc on everything. They're kidnapping
Mhm.
people, they're murdering.
Mhm.
These are savages, and it's building up these people. These are not people. It's just like Anakin, all that crap, you know.
Mhm.
And so now you have the dichotomy of, oh, I know better. I know they're more than these savages, and I know them, and I'm part of them. Maybe, I don't know, something.
Well, they completely defanged the Sand People, you know, because they were scary creature.
Right. It got you
Until-
like kind of liberally.
Well-
Yeah.
It's trying to be
Was
like, oh,
humanize
everything's
'em.
Fine.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean
They're just
they
misunderstood.
Well, it's
they blew
waste
that
them.
they blew
but-
that with the train.
Yeah.
Like when you think about what the train was, like the train had defenses for the Sand People, but the Sand People shot at the train because they shot at them. So it's like if you both just stop shooting at each other,
Right.
we're fine here.
Mhm.
The
I think
train has no problem going. It's like the land speed record on the White
Yeah,
Sands.
right, we
it's
talked
going
about that too,
800 miles an hour,
It's an
and
inconvenience
these
for 30
ding
seconds.
dongs are on fur-covered elephants.
And put your
I
damn elephants
think-
down. Like put them under the ground, like on the other side of a hill, please.
They have knees.
Yeah, lay them
They were
down a
supposed to
little
be,
bit.
oh, I saw the Boonta Eve Classic. I saw the pod racing, and they were shooting at those pod racers. They are a threat
Right.
at fast-moving
Exactly.
objects.
It was such a
I don't know what.
Yeah.
they've got this weird
Well,
just
and the
weird ideas
the bit
that they
too, though,
created.
you know, I mean, I don't know how you would chalk this up to being a writer as well, or just over the show and knowing what's going to happen all the time. But there's that moment where they go into Jabba's palace and they're going through the kitchen, and that little animal tries to get out of the
Rat catcher.
pot, and they stuff him back inside. And I basically did a countdown in my mind to the point where the pot was going to get knocked over and they would all be set free. It's just they're just doing all the things you think they're gonna do every single time. And it was like the guy with all the knives, the General Grievous chef. Knives. I was like 3, 2, 1. Yep, there she is. Knife throat. Slit the throat. It's just everything's happening exactly how you think it's gonna happen, and it's making it not very much fun to watch.
But to the point, and to the Nico point that you've made in other things, is it's Titanic. We know the ship crashes into the iceberg, right? We know Boba Fett ends up with the whatever with his T-bird, whatever it's
Yeah,
called.
he gets his ship
with
back.
his
He
team,
gets his ship.
He gets his armor back.
He
Did they
gets
really
all the
rename
crap
it?
back. We know it. What?
was it renamed on purpose, or did they just call it something different and just leave it at that? Like we're supposed to assume that it's a new name now. How did that happen?
Well, I had seen a report, like it
Yeah.
came out when they were like, "Oh, they're not calling it Slave One anymore because it's insensitive."
Right. So it's not.
Yeah,
the
he
Indians.
has a
Yeah, got it.
line where he
Because
says,
he's
and
a
it's
Disney
super
princess
fast.
now.
But
and
he
can't have
does
a
say
ship called
something
the
to like,
Slave.
Right.
I need your help recovering my Firehawk or something like that. Like the
Yeah,
kind of like how
my
kind of like
brain
how
didn't even
the
register
Mandalorian
what he
refers
said.
to
Yeah.
the ship class as Razor Crest.
Well, see, that's what I thought they did was they were calling the Slave One by its class and not by its name. I thought that's what I heard in the show. That's why I was like, wait, is that what the name of it now? Which is fine. I'm all about it.
Oh, sure.
Because honestly, like I've been, bedtime reading with Huck for like, a while now. And dude, these books from like the old days, like mid-century, use the word slave a lot. Like
Yeah, yeah.
not referring to
Star Wars books.
slaves. No, like because they're like fantasy books or whatever, and it's like kids fantasizing about having a magic potion that turns everyone into their slave. And so I'm like constantly on the fly, like actually changing
Adjusting.
these words of these books like as I go, because they use a lot of stuff like that. It's really weird. So I'm all for it. Get that out of here. Yeah.
Right, yeah, it's
I'll call it the
fine.
Firebird. Whatever.
Yeah, I didn't catch it the first time. Second time I caught that it's changed, but then I totally spaced what it was called because
Okay, so as much as we're complaining, I did like the map that was being. I guess it's Prometheus. They're kind of ripping off Prometheus because it did it.
the
like
little
the,
spy droid thing. Yeah.
But like when it came back and then it made the map and they could see what was happening, I
Mhm.
was like, okay, that's clever. But yeah, that was in Prometheus. So
Yeah. It was a cool effect, though. I liked the little thing blowing by, and his little eyeball was kind of a cool lens flare as it flew by. That was kind of nice.
I know we just said we were trying to go to the things we liked.
Nah.
I realize it now too. I didn't like the scene with the Rancor because the scale of that dungeon doesn't make any sense.
How does his claw
How'd it
get all
crawl
the
up
way up there? Yeah,
Yeah.
and
exactly.
he's little. He's a baby.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Again, it's connecting the dots of logic, and they don't care. They go, we want the payoff.
Yeah.
But how do you get to the payoff? Oh, whatever.
It was
Let's
the
just concede
T-Rex
It Jurassic
climbs
Park.
over the fence, and then suddenly it's a pit. That's what
And it's a
it
cliff.
was. Yeah.
Yeah.
it. Yeah,
It's
true.
super, super annoying.
And they're doing it, but they're doing it constantly. They're making flat
Yeah.
ground a cliff constantly.
Well, and right,
yeah.
and it's like nobody's done the Charlie Day mapping with the yarn, and it wouldn't take much. Like it wouldn't take much to, you could have the Rancor growl, or you can flex that. You can have the seats open. You can have you can show that flex in other ways. That is, like, if you want to make him a badass, you have him drop one of the second in commands at that table into the pit.
Mm-hmm.
Do it, Austin Powers.
Right.
Yeah, I'm being serious.
Right.
Like if you want,
Yeah.
if they're
The
giving you a
baby
bunch of crap-
Rancor is mauling me. Oh, it's terrible. Its teeth aren't quite formed yet, but it's still horrible.
but if you want to
Yeah.
do a flex of the Rancor, do that. Drop in like the mouthy captain and be like the guy at the very end, the dog face. Drop him in
Yeah.
and then point to a second
Hi,
command and
Dogface.
said, "Are you gonna be on my team now?"
You know,
It's
the only
that classic
person
mobster meeting.
Threaten them. Make
Right.
them feel peril in front of him. Yeah.
who is the only person that he has actually threatened in this whole entire show so far? That little chicken robot in the kitchen, where he picks
Oh,
him
the
up by his
kitchen?
neck and he's like, "Do you know who I am? I'm Boba Fett." It's like that's the
He goes,
only person he's like really threatened so far. Yeah, and he shut himself
Okay,
off.
So back to my whole thing with the Tusken Raiders.
Mhm.
Now, if they were his guards
Right.
and they were the
Oh,
same
that'd be
people
wicked.
wreaking havoc for generations,
Yeah, because he's like
Now they're
somehow
going-
wrangled him.
what the hell are these freaking savages doing? Like, again,
Mhm.
if you like,
Yeah.
because the whole thing, I feel like they want to have this liberal slant of being like, we
Mhm.
want to do dances with wolves and we want to do all this crap, but it's like, then follow it through.
Yeah.
Go all the way and make sense in that world. So if they're sitting at that table and there's all these Tusken Raiders around and all these guys are like mega uncomfortable and like, what the hell?
Mhm.
These people
Right.
torched our city
Mhm.
and you've invited them in. And then, so that's now another level of conflict for him going, how do I convince anyone that it's a good idea that I'm in with the Tusken Raiders, who are the
Love
enemy on this planet?
Once
Something-
again,
I don't know.
Favreau, Filoni, hit us up on Instagram, DM us. We'll fix it for you.
You got my name.
We got
you
this.
his name.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
his
you
name.
got all the names.
Just
I
shoot
agree.
us.
I'm the guy with the stupid gothy cup. I'm that guy.
You got a dragon claw goblet. We'll write one into the story. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be huge. You're gonna love it. All right. Well, parting words on chapter 4, gentlemen.
Okay, So to be positive,
Mm-hmm.
chapter 4 finally gets us out of flashbacks, right? We finally catch up.
Are
and
we caught
go,
up?
okay, we can be done with flashbacks. So
Mhm.
that's like a huge, which I think if this show ends up having multiple seasons and gets somewhere and gets good, then
Mhm.
it's like when you're telling people years from now, oh yeah, you should watch that Boba Fett show. The first 4 episodes, you got to get through some stuff.
It's a little bit of a slog. Yeah.
Right?
Gotta walk through that. Yeah.
So we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
They definitely have. If they want to put the energy into Boba Fett, I have no doubt that they will solve it. But yeah, right now, episode 4, it's like it's been a slog and it's been a meandery slog. But you know what? I have hope that now it can just move forward and maybe a fresh direction.
Yeah. My positive takeaway is, while the stuff doesn't logistically work, I do like the creative idea pool that they're pulling from. You know, the assault on the Sarlacc pit, while logistically incorrect, is a cool concept. It was so I kind of like how they're even like the neon teens is a stupid idea, but I like that they're not giving us just this like boring walk through this dusty world stuff. I do like that they're kind of pushing the boundaries, and I think it's one of those like, it's gonna do this, and then eventually it's gonna settle into a nice rhythm, and all of the weirdness will fall into place. I like, the Wookiee character. I like Fennec, obviously. I think they were just over or inundated with, we have so many questions to answer right now, so that we can kind of put them to bed and then tell our Boba Fett story. Like, because imagine if they just jumped into something like probably chapter 7. If that would have been chapter 1, people were like, wait, how did he get out of the pit? Why is he in charge?
Sure.
What happened? So people would be pissed off. So they kind of have to walk through this. But I said positively, I like that it feels like that stuff is starting to kind of the checkbox, check. We addressed the armor, we addressed the takeover, we addressed the city, check. And finally, like, oh, okay, now we can tell the story that we want. So that positively, I'm still gonna watch it. I was excited to watch today's episode, so I'm still looking forward to watching it, because I do think that the content creators are in the right place to get us somewhere. But it's definitely been muddy water getting us there.
I completely agree. If I was talking to someone who said, should I start the show? Should I start with chapter 1? I would say absolutely not. Wait until the end, and I'll tell you if you should watch it. Because that's fair. And in the meantime, go watch The Bad Batch, because it's much better. It just is. And it's so much more compelling and interesting. And the characters. It's so funny, too, to me that there's like a show that A, is animated, and B, is all the same guy. I mean, it's 5 Boba Fett's, basically, It's 5... with different talents, and it's still a better show than this one is, and that really fascinates me.
That is like the Filoni shows, like Rebels. I kind of felt this way a little bit with the arcs of seasons, where I'm kind of like hit hard at the beginning, and then you kind of have and then at the end, go boom,
Yeah.
And so even like Bad Batch felt a little bit like that, but yeah, still. There wasn't much where there was meandering. It was going, oh, these guys don't know who they are anymore. Yeah,
right.
That's because, again, that's a conflict that's compelling to me.
Yeah, it's we'll see. So chapter 4 ends with the Mandalorian theme, so we'll see if he shows up, or maybe it's just Milton in a tinfoil hat, and he's there to save the day.
The palace on fire.
I'm a watermonger.
Right.
Burn you down.
Throwing staplers at people.
And Danny Trejo will be like, "Why are you starting a fire, bro?
Have a donut." All right, everyone. Thank you for joining us on the live stream. Thank you for joining us all across the world. Find us everywhere podcasts can be found. We love you all. Thanks for watching.